it's a great pleasure for me to be part of this workshop, to be able to discuss the vegetation cover in Madagascar during the Holocene. I am Estelle Razanatsoa, a Malagasy ECR paleoecologist currently based at the University of Cape Town. Growing up in a rural area in Madagascar, we were taught about the Green Island and how forested our island was, and also that we destroyed the forest, cleared the land. Yet we had no options but to turn to the forest for charcoal production or practice agriculture as a source of income. 20 years later, we are still at the debate. And the questions remains on what was, where, and who did what on the ecosystem surrounding us. And people are still living in poverty, well, in some cases, marginalized for conservation practices. This is where scientific evidence are important, and what might come out of workshops like this could be crucial in responding to these questions. It's where I think paleoecology can help with these challenges, as it allows to understand the temporal change of vegetation at a scale of centuries to millennia, and can be useful to identify local and also regional changes and their drivers over time. This is where also it is important to discuss about the grass component of the different vegetation in Madagascar over time and their origin and expansion. So I worked on two sites to look at the changes on the vegetation. One in the north is a site currently surrounded by degraded dry forest, agricultural areas near the Mundav River, and with a record that covers about 2,000 years, and that is the Lake Lungis. And then I worked on a second site further south, currently dominated by a wooded savanna, and that covered the last 700 years. These to investigate the changes of vegetation, climate variation, and fire and herbivory over the late Holocene. In Lungis, we found that there is a presence of a mosaic vegetation during the last 2,000 years, with taxa that were associated with dry deciduous forest and others with riparian areas. We found also an abundance of grass ranging from about 40% up to 80% at the near present period, and the changes occurred in response to both climate and human land use at different time periods. In Tsizavats, we found that the vegetation was characterized by a wooded savanna during the last 700 years, but there is an increase in dry adapted taxa during the 20th century, which was possibly associated to the drying that has been recorded in the region. These sites demonstrate the heterogeneity of the landscape in southwest Madagascar, and other paleoecological investigations in the area as well have shown different trends in terms of drivers and the dynamism of the vegetation. But for me, as a native from the island, having a continuous debate and research on the topic is important, but responding to the so what questions, such as what are the implications of these to people living in there, how would this affect the conservation activities and education in the area, are far more important and urgent, as this might leave the legacy, but also will greatly affect not only the rural areas, but also the next generation of Malagasy in terms of education, livelihood, and of course the conservation practices that will be conducted for our biodiversity. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to have a discussion with you during the workshop. Thank you.